saying someone gives you an ultimatum. Are you gonna sit around and let that ultimatum pass?
It depends, man.
Okay.
If it's me personally,
Mm-hmm.
if someone gives me an ultimatum, like what's the circumstances?
Whatever circumstances it.
Justice or else.
Justice or else. And if I was in his position and I know like what's happened in the past, I know why I'm doing this movement.
Right.
Mhm.
Or like what we would do.
Okay, but I said we'll build on that a little bit more, deeper, get into it in regards to where that ultimatum is coming from
Okay.
and what it's all about.
Right.
For instance, when did they have the last Million Man March?
Of 1995, right?
What year is it now?
2015.
So it's still a million?
Probably more. It was 1.8.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is
Uh-huh.
Million Man March.
Right.
Just the tag alone, Million Man March. So it means that we didn't make any progress since then?
Maybe it could be because it wasn't an ultimatum. I don't know.
Okay, we'll
It's
build on
different.
that.
Like right now, the man's 82 right now. At the time, he was probably was
Mm.
62.
Yeah.
You know. The country was worse off. There was no Barack Obama, no signs of hope, or whatever you could say.
So does Barack really mean signs of hope though?
It depends on who. It depends. Depends on who. You know.
Right. Because even from, and I guess this is kind of going to go into what we're today's topic of nationality and citizenry. So if we use that as an example, since 95 to 2015, right? It's always been a private corporation.
What's that?
U.S., United States, and Canada.
It's a private organization.
It's always been private. It's never been something that is for the people, right? So if you say that you're U.S. citizen, or
Your property of the U.S. or Canada.
or citizen of Canada, you're saying that really what you're saying is that you're subject, right? Because if these people are granting you the citizenship that you're claiming to be a member of, and these people are not governments, they're private corporations, then you're not this. This is just wordplay
Right.
to get people to think that these are governments. And once they get the people to think that they're governments and they go with this, now they fall under this jurisdiction of subject.
Right.
Directly, indirect. Because they didn't even go here. They didn't even consider this at all. They just heard somebody say U.S. citizen, Canada citizen, get a passport. You know, citizenship says Canadian. Oh, I guess I'm a Canadian citizen.
Nationality you're talking
Right?
about,
Right. This citizen,
right?
right, ties to naturalization,
Okay.
right? And naturalization is a process being done to people that are foreign,
Right.
right? So only people who aren't from the land that they're standing on would go through this process to be this.
White people gone through naturalization as well.
Has,
White people went through nationalization.
all right.
You know,
So you check, just get the free white for him.
Naturalization.
Yeah.
You can drop some science.
Right, get the free white. So the question was, since they're foreigners,
Right.
they should go through this process,
we're all foreigners except the Native Indians, right?
right? Okay, now, so
That's good questions. And
if we're all foreigners, then we all should go through this process,
Naturalization.
naturalization.
Right.
Have you been naturalized?
I don't know what the term means yet.
All right.
I don't know if I know.
Right. Oh, holy! Where you pull that guy from?
The trenches.
Where you find that? Oh yeah. before we continue on, let's get our protocol going on. Let's get the prayer up. Yo, Islam. Yeah, you're here.
We're not gonna stay hanging forever.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you good?
Yeah, I'm good on my
That's good work.
That's cool.
See, all right?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How you
Good to see
doing?
you, bro. Everything good. Yeah, we're just gonna get the prayer. Face the east. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Those who want to participate, please do. If you're not, please hold your peace. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through His holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Ashe. Islam. So today we're dealing with nationality and citizenry. So one of the questions that was brought up was that if foreigners naturalize, right, then the only people that shouldn't do this process are the native Indians, because they're the only people that aren't foreign, right? When we look at this term of naturalization versus nationalization, these two terms set up different jurisdictions, right? If a foreigner goes through this process to become a citizen, then that means that they don't have full rights. They're granted certain aspects of nationalization as a naturalized citizen, but they don't have the full rights as somebody who did a nationalization. Okay? You have free white
person.
right? So this is with regard to Europeans being foreigners and the process of naturalization. Go ahead, Mark.
Free white persons, and this is coming from the Black's Law 4th edition book. Free white persons, referred to in Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14, 1870, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in Statute 103 C3, meaning all persons belonging to the European races then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. It includes all European Jews, more or less intermixed with peoples of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It includes Magyars, Lapps, and Finns, and the Basque and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and North African inhabitants of Sicily, and the mixed Slave and Tatar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean, remember this is the main part of it, it does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabited or who inhabit Persia. A Syrian of Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person.
Right, so the statement was made that foreigners, or quote-unquote white people, should be the ones that do this process. But when we go to the definition in the law dictionary of free white persons, it tells you that it does not mean Caucasian race. So we can't apply the term foreigner and then say white people and think that only means pale people. because North Africans are white people. So they would get naturalized if they come here. Right? Magyars, Laps, whoever else that they mentioned, are also white people. And they might not necessarily look pale. So this is where they got us into the confusion of what our citizenry is. Because majority of our people, especially our people, think that colors are identity, think continents are identity. They think doesn't matter what you call yourself, you can call yourself blue, purple people, and it doesn't matter to the world. But then when we look at injustices around the world, it happens to our people the most, regardless of where we're from. And then it comes down to what is our class in society, right? And if our class in society is based on us being naturalized, or with us being
A citizen?
subject to somebody, then our class is not going to be really acknowledged. No matter how much injustices we get against us. So when somebody says justice or else, right? But for 20 years, they have never exercised or else while receiving injustice. Between 95 and 2015, they should have at least one example of or else, so that the people who are showing them injustice could stop and be like, okay, well, in the past 20 years, we have, whatever examples of them doing or else to people who violate them. But they don't do that. They send people out to go march. They send people out to go get pepper sprayed, get their ass kicked. While just like when you go to Mecca, and then you see everybody go take their Hajj, and then they running around the cube and all that stuff. Imams and stuff aren't doing that. Imams aren't down there with those people kissing the black stone and all that.
Why is that?
Because their class is not subject.
So it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory for them to do that as well?
It's not that. That's not even mandatory. That's a ritual that they put in for people who don't have it. But for them to feel that they're involved, for them to feel that they belong to whatever, then they give them these little things to do, right? But the reality is, if the individual that's putting this out, or else, there should be some or else examples, so that the people can say, okay, that's where we go when we don't get justice. But to say or else with no examples is just a blanket statement that, like if you ask for example, if we say skinheads, we say white power or else what? Or else we're going to make you bite that curb, kick the back of your head in. We might come to your house, firebomb your house. They got some stuff to show.
True.
So people not going to mess with them on that level if they say or else.
True.
So what do you think that Farrakhan means when he says or else?
He's just pacifying people. Just get people's energy riled up.
So
And once people's energy get up here, then the vampires come in and they suck all that they want to suck, and they'll suck forever.
So you don't think that there's like a legitimate threat behind the or else?
No.
There's nothing.
Zero. or there would have been some or else already. And remember that the whole Million Man March and all that stuff is coming from stuff before 95. So if we take this back to Black Panther Party, right? They'll say that, yeah, these guys were the most revolutionary, they walked down the street with guns and all that type of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But they weren't about what? They weren't about or else. They were about defending the community.
Just to expound on the or else part, what you have to realize is that this is the sorcery behind it. What he's doing is he's putting the or else putting it into your court. So or else could be whatever you want, but then he's not responsible. See what I mean? So if you go out there and shoot someone, he goes, I never said that. I just said or else. But that's sort of giving the person who's being sort of having justice against him, allowing him to then be responsible for that. Because really, if he's really a prophet or a teacher, he should be telling what the or else would be.
Nah,
Right?
nah.
That's why they changed the subject.
Nah, I don't agree.
Okay, I know.
I don't agree, bro. Cause
Should've told them, eh?
when it comes to war, people don't tell people when they're gonna attack, especially if
Of course
you've been
they tell
oppressed for
them.
so many years. Nah.
When there's
but
about to
wait,
be a
They
war,
attack during night, you don't see them coming, and your ass
The war's
gets
already started by
handed
that
to you.
time.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying?
okay, but what he's talking about is if we're all, okay, say all of a certain,
I understand. He's saying we all interpret it differently.
no, okay, so if we're all in an army and I am the leader and I
Yeah.
say to you, let's go outside and kick everybody or ass or whatever,
But he's NOI.
that's fine. What I'm saying is, how are we going to accomplish that
Yeah.
as a group? So if I say let's go out there and beat everybody,
Yeah,
but I do not give you the tools to do it.
that's not
Training.
Well,
relevant.
it's okay. Well, it's like the U.S. Army,
That's
for
not
instance.
relevant though.
It is
You know
relevant.
He can't give you the tools. What is he gonna do? Throw you a gun?
But okay, but see, that's the whole point. What we're speaking on.
Mm-hmm.
When Farrakhan says or else,
Mm-hmm.
knowing, he knows, Farrakhan knows without a shadow of a doubt that nothing will come out of or else.
What do you mean? Things will be escalated.
Okay.
That's what.
escalated to
Escalated to what
To
level?
what level? Like,
That's something that you will see.
Okay,
If you're
no,
not
no.
but
involved,
see,
that's something you will
see when. This is the thing. Like, okay, yeah, we're gonna see that,
We're gonna
right?
see that.
But there's
Well,
been
have you been paying attention to what he's been talking
No,
about?
okay.
With Farrakhan. What
But
he's
this
been
is
talking
what-
about,
okay, this
and
is- okay.
why he's trying to do this.
This
next
is where I'm
March.
going with this. Did
I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
Please answer as asked, please.
Okay.
Have you been paying attention to what Farrakhan's been doing, talking about this Million Man
Okay.
March, or did you just hear about
On
it?
one hand, yes.
Mhm.
On the other hand, the background behind that is
Mhm.
that Farrakhan is not, in terms of who he is,
Mhm.
His
Farrakhan
class.
is a bait. Farrakhan's class is up here.
I'm
He-
not arguing that.
No, but okay, but if he's telling people who are not a B or L in terms of their nationality, who are naturalized
status.
as citizen,
Mhm.
we're talking about status now.
Right.
Farrakhan's status is a B. So if he's a
What do you
B,
mean by a big? What do you
he
mean by that?
is he's
He's a Moor.
national.
He's a Moor.
Okay.
He's a Moor.
Okay.
He doesn't call himself
He doesn't
black
call
to himself.
black to himself.
Okay.
He might tell it to everybody else.
Okay.
So basically, what we're speaking on is he's basically leading people into the fire.
Mhm.
This is what,
That's true.
okay?
But
So
we've been in the fire.
no. Okay, but that's
I
fine.
get it.
But that's fine. So in other words, he should be leading the people out of the fire.
If we've been in the fire,
If we've been in the fire.
Right.
So what we're speaking on is knowledge of who we are, but still leading them through the fire.
Mhm.
That is the negative behind the or else. There's no positive that will come out of or else,
So he's just playing on his words then.
right?
because
So-
the or else
The or else.
the or else isn't
is-
gonna fall on the European who's the enemy. The or else is gonna fall on the people.
It's going to fall on the people.
Because they're the ones that's going to be out there
Mhm.
in front of these line of
Mhm.
officers, police, or whatever like that, have no knowledge of their rights,
Mhm.
have no knowledge how to sue somebody if
Yeah.
they violate them,
Yeah.
have no knowledge of weapons, or have no knowledge
Mhm.
of, you know what I mean, how to prepare
Mhm.
yourself for a rally
There are
where they're
people
gonna
who
have
do. There
yeah,
are a lot of
but
people who do.
but again, like if
Quick
we're
question, could we
Sir,
yeah,
could we
but-
look back at any time in history where what you're saying became like that? Is the civil rights movement like an example of that, where they didn't arm people or prepare them?
Mhm.
Like
What-
what you're saying, they raised the energy to just kind of.
Exactly.
Like,
So-
I feel like things are getting swayed because, hold on,
Go ahead, sir, go ahead.
I feel like things are getting swayed because from what I gathered from what he's been saying, because he's saying he wants to do a second march because the first one was unsuccessful. He said the first one, basically everybody was just protesting, and this time he's planning to like actually do something.
Okay, well, who planned the first one?
Honestly, I wasn't there, so I can't.
Same
tell you-
people.
I can't tell you who planned it, but I know it happened.
Right?
You
But
know
it's the
what I mean?
same people that planned the first one.
Mhm.
So if
Who are
so,
these people?
so
though?
if,
You're asking me, and you're the same people. People
no,
are people.
same people who are saying today, the same people who are
They
pushing.
came together. They said they're
for-
gonna do a million man march.
Yeah.
Mans came together. They said we're gonna do it, and then some guys came through, and then it was like a test. Because anytime you do something the first time, it's not gonna be perfect the first time. Like I've
But
never.
that's not the
seen
first
that
time they
happen.
marched.
But
Black
that's
people
a
been
million-
marching
that's the
since
first time they
the
coined that
60s.
phrase. That's the first time it's come together as a phrase, and you know symbolism is a
No,
big
no,
thing.
absolutely.
Right.
So they're using that as a symbol as
Absolutely.
black unity. Or
So there you go.
more.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
The symbolism.
Okay.
Okay, and I think we're getting a little.
Yeah, we're getting a little off topic.
Careful, 'cause
What
getting
we're
to
what
arguments
we're focused on is class.
Mhm.
We have to focus on class because that is the semblance of where the mindset of certain people are.
Mhm.
The leader is class is up here in a sense that he is a national.
Mhm.
He's nationalized. He's gone through the information in terms of what we're going through right now. He has the books in terms of the lawyers, in terms of the judges. He has that information.
And he's not passing that on.
He's not passing that information on.
Yo, you have a picture of him yet? Or is that Al Sharpton?
That's Al Sharpton.
Yeah, Al Sharpton.
Because the information could end up in the hands of the enemy.
Okay, wait.
No, no.
Wait.
No,
Okay.
okay.
Sorry, let me just, okay. He is not passing the information on.
But we know about this book. How come we don't go and get the book for ourselves and learn it for
Exactly.
ourselves?
But you see, that's the whole point.
That's why,
They
that's what the
keep
leader's
telling
supposed to
anybody
do.
go get
He
this
does
book.
tell people to get that book.
No, he doesn't.
Let me tell
Maybe
you
not.
now.
You never heard it recently, but I've heard people say, "Get the Black Law Dictionary."
Who
Like that's
has been saying it?
either the people who've learned underneath him, and he has said it. Maybe he's not said it because I can't remember the exact time when he said
Did you
it.
get one yet?
No, I don't have one. But I'm
Yeah.
not as dedicated.
You
Wait,
better
so,
be.
But I'm gonna speak for me.
Oh, that's
I'm
fine,
gonna
that's
speak for
fine,
me.
that's fine.
I'm saying
So
that there are
what I'm
people
saying
with that
is,
information.
if I'm gonna lead you, I'm gonna lead you with the information to
Mhm.
correct the
And I'm just like
situation.
most other people. Most people don't have that much dedication to rip through that book
Let me.
Go
and
ahead.
memorize everything line for line.
Yeah,
I was NOI for 10 years.
Mhm.
10 years, NOI and what you would call Nation of Gods and Earths.
Mhm.
So I come under that school of thought from Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad,
Mhm.
Master Fard Muhammad,
Yeah.
Al Shabazz, known as Malcolm X. I came under that school. I did that for 10 years. I'm
Yeah.
telling you right now. You're talking to a brother that's been in that for 10 years.
Alright.
Never once did they tell our people about Black's Laws Dictionary. Never once did they ever speak about civics. The only thing the way the Nation of Islam is set up is it's now religious. It's now a religious organization. You see what I'm saying? Like they're now a sect of Islam in a religious sense.
So,
They don't
cut you off. Was this in Toronto or back in, like, was it in the States? Like, where you were
like
attending?
so I got into the nation. The way I got into it was from the Nation of Gods and Earths, what they call it, and I got it from New Jersey
Okay.
and Brooklyn.
Okay.
Like, the guys that taught me were from out of there, and then I kind of broke away from that and got more into the Nation of Islam at that time because I felt like that spoke to me more.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, from my being into the state of being in a Moorish American now, I realized that what the Nation of Islam did was they took all of Noble Drew Ali's information and then they twisted and contorted it and made it their own to make it seem like it's their prophet.
Exclusive to
Noble
them.
Drew Ali, can you just explain that to them?
But
Maybe they
Noble Drew Ali basically is the founder. He's the first one to speak in that manner. Elijah Muhammad studied under Noble Drew Ali. When Noble Drew Ali stepped away, passed on, then all of a sudden Elijah Muhammad came up with the Nation of Islam. So basically the Nation of Islam is like a byproduct of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You
But
see what I'm saying?
interestingly enough, they never really called any.
Yeah, but
they
you
never
know-
held.
But this is the thing though. The thing is they never They never
what they
paid
did is
tribute to
a lot of the information that set our people free, they kept that to themselves and gave people religion, or what they consider religion as dogma. What they gave them was a religious something to follow religiously, because our people, Moorish people, are spiritual. But what happens is now in this day and time they're confusing that spirituality with religion. So their spirituality is getting confused and wrapped into religion. And now that I look back, I'm like, yo, they basically took advantage of the people. You see what I'm saying? They took the Nation of Islam took advantage.
You know what's messed up though? You know what's messed up? Because I've actually been in the Nation as well, and I had to like separate myself from it because I noticed the same type of trend that you're speaking of. And to be honest with you, yeah, they do put you on a learning schedule, and people don't really learn at their own pace and stuff like that.
But the learning schedule that put you on.
And the thing is, the people who are leading the NOI, regardless of which one you go to, they're still not Farrakhan. And a lot of people feel like, I don't know if you get this, but I feel like a person, what Farrakhan is Farrakhan for a reason, you know what I'm saying? And he was able to start something from nothing, even though, because it was basically nothing before you were telling me about this.
No, it was huge before.
No, but you said NOI started from the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, which he learned from the other guy that you just mentioned, right? So basically, he took that power source or that energy source, right, and said, okay, I'm gonna start my own thing and do it in my own way, regardless of how it's banned. There's many religions doing it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I think it's currently going on, and there's a lot of people under that influence.
He dumbed it down, and what he did is basically put our people back.
Yeah, but I feel people get jealous, and not only, but they're not gonna say they're jealous, but they will actually go and teach as though they are him, and they have the same rights, even though they are not him, and they would enforce their ideas, even though those wouldn't be what he would practice.
And the only reason that they're doing
and
that,
he hasn't been in Canada in like how long?
And the only reason that they're doing that is because Farrakhan's not teaching the people what they're supposed to know.
He can't even come to Canada like.
Okay, but wait.
No, but it's not. But
man's been separated from his people.
But what we
how is he separated from his people when he separates himself from his people? He's the one who put himself on pedestal.
He can't come here. The white man would kill him.
No.
Right?
The white people
Who's
don't
the white
kill
man?
him.
Who's the white man?
Alright, let's say the enemy. Because even black people would kill him too.
Alright. But
Let's say the
okay,
enemy.
but see, this is what
And this is what we're
This is what we're trying to get the mindset.
right, because as dark skinned people, right?
It's called progression in my opinion.
If dark skinned people are gonna progress, the only way that they're gonna be progressive is if they get out of their lower class system that they're in. The only way that they're gonna do that is by nationalizing.
Okay.
Not by killing them.
Farrakhan knows that. So that should be the first step before we go march.
How do you propose we do that? That's a good question.
Before we go march or do anything, these individuals who call themselves leaders of whatever organization, group, whatever, right? First thing they should be telling people is about this.
That's true.
Forget about the enemy, forget about or else, forget about get guns and have guns and whatever.
Because I
Cause
saw both of these words pop up, I had to look it up and see if I could understand the difference between the two. And right now, it still doesn't make it. It doesn't.
No, that's
I
fine.
don't get it.
Exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
So
fine.
please break that
yeah,
down. Maybe,
most definitely. Yeah, we're gonna
Perfect
get there.
question.
We're gonna get there.
Before you do that, I think the conversation went all over the place. Like,
No.
you know what I mean? Like a whole lot of stuff
100%.
happens.
And I
Yeah, we're gonna turn it back around.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
And then-
This is my first time here, so I'm not sure like if it's like a presentation or where we.
No, this is it's open. Yeah, it's open.
Okay, that's
But I
really
mean,
good.
we stick
It's
to
open.
we
Right.
stick to a program.
Right.
But when stuff
We
come
try
up,
to.
we deal with it because we don't dodge stuff.
Okay,
You
alright.
know what I mean? Like we don't want to get into I'm the teacher and you're the student, and then you can't say nothing unless you put up your hand, go to the washroom. We don't do no stuff.
So,
You all go to the washroom. Washroom's right back there. Right.
So originally we're talking about class, right?
We're talking about class.
And what I wanted to ask is, do you think that Farrakhan actually elevated himself just by doing the Million Man March?
No.
Like, do you think like when white people seen 1 million people came together, like I don't know when this has ever happened again in history again, like as far as like a protest or cases, that actually raised his status? Like if Farrakhan had been assassinated right now at that time, like, do you think that there could have been a possible revolt in society? Do you think that's how he elevated himself?
Not really, because as soon as they start revolting, they're going to be classed as insurgents.
Kick me off the boat.
The so-called black people.
What elevated the status was him nationalizing.
What elevated the status was him killing Malcolm. How about that for elevation of your status?
And let's, we can continue.
Because even he said that he created the atmosphere for whatever happened to Malcolm out of his own mouth. But millions of people honor Malcolm, El Hajj, but nobody's not challenging Farrakhan on. He came out and said he created the atmosphere for El Hajj's assassination.
He met with his wife not too long ago.
His daughter,
Yeah.
and said it.
He said
Sorry for creating the atmosphere that killed your dad. What's that tell you? That he was down with it. Yes, it does. He said it out of his own mouth. We're not talking about speculation. We're talking about out of Farrakhan's own mouth. He said that he had something to do with the murder of Malcolm.
I heard him say that he was on complicit. That's what I heard.
Right?
I think there was no
I
checks.
know you always need space.
Man used to come in and just walk into the mosque, and then they have
Yeah,
to enforce the security
but again,
breach.
we're gonna go back again to what is the class of these individuals?
Yeah, let's focus on that. How
Right?
we can separate
What were the
ourselves.
class of
Let's
these
focus on that.
individuals? When we look at the so-called Negro, black, colored people, right? When we look at them, their class is subject. Like period. That's the class of our people. If they call themselves black,
Versus
Negro.
what? What's the opposite of being a subject?
opposite of subject is national.
Okay.
And how does that correlate to the free white status? Is there a correlation, or is it like between subject and
Only a national could be this. A subject can't be this.
Is there another name for national?
So are you saying that every white person every white person has more is a national?
Sovereign, okay.
I think we better read that definition again, because a lot of people still have that concept of
Yeah, but that takes time.
matching white with
That
the
takes
skin
time.
complexion.
Yeah.
Right? So
What would
so nationals,
Switch everything around.
right? Nationals never ever identify themselves as colors.
Okay.
They always identify themselves by their nation. So
Okay.
we say that we're Moors. And then this is our flag, because this is a national flag that you can see flying anywhere. And you show anybody this, they know what this is. No questions asked. You take a Chinese one of these, show it, everybody knows what it is, no questions asked. Subjects don't have flags. Subjects have banners. Then a subject banner would be that Nation of Islam red with the star on it or whatever like that. That's a banner. That's not no flag. Red, black, green, whatever. That's a banner. That's not a flag. So it does not attach to a nation or nationals. It's strictly attached to people who are classified as subjects.
So when you say red, black, green, you're talking about the Ethiopian
No, that's red, gold,
with the,
green.
with the Judaism?
Yeah, that's red, gold, green.
Okay.
Yeah, like RBG flag.
Okay.
That the Black Power use as, they say this is their flag. It's not a flag.
that press or something?
It's a banner, yeah, dead press or whatever, right? So our thing is not get people here until they know about this. Because if you're here without this, then you're classified as this, and then they can just gun you down the street and it's not gonna even be no big deal. Just like it's not no big deal when they gun down so-called Negro, black, colored people in the street. Nobody cares.
Could we very quickly like different? I think my brother was going to read the definition of free white person, like differentiate like the color between the status of free white person.
Well, okay,
Look
well,
up subject first.
Oh,
that free white person is a status.
okay.
That is a status. It's not a complexion of people.
Yeah. So what would you call the people that the typical person would call white, like those people?
Whatever country they're from, whatever land they're from.
Yes,
So you would have to engage them to know.
Okay.
But half the time they don't engage us because we're subject.
True.
So as soon as we approach them, they grab their purse or, you know what I mean? Don't want to deal with us because society has taught them that don't mess with these people, don't engage them. You know what I mean? The only thing that they're good for is go in their pockets, get them to pay for whatever products you got. Other than that, don't even deal with those people. And then our people take that as, oh, those people are racist and those people don't care about us, and don't, when really we don't have a nation.
But that's
So we're not respected.
But that's because of that's in consequence of colonization, right?
Yes.
Right. But
For
remember,
example, like you just brought up like a black chick get gunned down the street and nobody isn't care nothing like that.
Yeah.
Like you have to also understand that like being us right now, in this country, this time, whether it's Canada or America, like, we're in a unique position. Cause it's not like we migrated here, we're immigrants, like we're kidnapped. You know what I mean? And the fact that like Africa itself is not in that position where like as far as like Russia or Europe or whatever the case is, it's completely different. So obviously they're not gonna respect us.
yeah, but then again, you know, if you go to somebody who's from Africa,
Right.
again, talking about class, status, nation, or whatever like that, nobody from there is gonna say that they're African.
In Africa.
In Africa, they're gonna say, I'm from Congo,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm from Eritrea,
Right.
I'm from Somalia, I'm from Nigeria, they're not gonna say I'm
I
black.
asked them. One guy
Right.
even told me, this is my passport.
Yeah,
He showed me a scar here.
Yeah.
This is like my passport.
Right.
From wherever he's from.
right.
Wow.
But the
And
words
I-
sorry.
Well, I just want to say something. Even with the European, if you ever talk to like any Chinese, you say, "Oh, you're no, I'm not Chinese, or I'm not white." They'll say, "I'm Ukrainian or Russian."
Right.
It's like you think that they want to be called white because that's like the privilege.
Right.
You know what I mean? In society, that means privilege, right?
Right.
And they'll tell you their nation. Most of them, and even I don't think they're even conscious. It's just that how they're being.
That's just what they know.
programmed.
That's how
they're being
that's what it
programmed.
is.
Exactly.
You know what I
So
mean?
us now, we have all these names that they want to attach to us.
African, American,
Yeah,
black,
from
colored.
colored, black,
Which remember, if we go back
why don't they have all these things to attach to them? What do
Right.
they do?
It's different. 'Cause
and if we
we're
go back,
colonized.
yeah, but again, who colonized us? Because Farrakhan calls us African American and black
The Europeans
and all
colonized
these other terms, right? It's not just the European.
The Arabs
Just
as well.
now, went to the store next door to go buy something, right? Europeans in there, right? So he's looking at this. Then he comes over, he's like, he asks a question like, where you get that hat from? I'm like, this is not a hat. He's like, yeah, I know, it's a fez. I'm a Shriner. How come we can't do this in society? How come we can't talk like this in society? You know what I mean? Like, why is there all this war and all this stuff when, you know, it's supposed to be about brotherly love and all this? This is a European. How come he's talking to me like that? Because he recognizes that I don't have the mindset as everybody else out here. You know what European told me? How come we always get blamed for your enslavement? This is European out just at the store.
Right.
How come we always get blamed for your enslavement when it was African kings who had the slave forts?
Who had what?
The slave forts.
Oh, okay.
He goes, it goes both ways. We weren't only responsible. Yeah, we were responsible. We were later. We took on those practices from African kings who were selling you guys to us. And then when I told them, well, I'm not even involved in that because I'm from here. I have nothing to do with slave trade and all that. My family's Iroquois. And immediately that done that question, and then now we're talking about Shriner stuff and you know how he got excommunicated by the Catholic Church because he's a Mason, and people think that, you know, religion and Masonry is, you know what I mean, intertwined when they're more separate than anything. Because nobody likes the Masons. Why? Because the Masons were taught by the Moors. This is a European right down there. That was a Shriner. So he was speaking from this perspective to another person who was on this perspective. And all this stuff right here, all that stuff didn't even mean nothing.
And then also not all of us were brought over. But some of us were already here.
Right, we're already here.
Like the Washita Moors, majority, the Washita Moors. And
Right.
a lot of the original Indians were us.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Which goes back to that thing that you were saying about, only the so-called Indians, native Indians, wouldn't do this. The reality is the so-called native Indians is really us.
Exactly.
And the people who we think are native Indians, they're this.
How did they become that?
Because they classify themselves as Indian.
No, but I want to know, like, how did they go from dark skinned, like, black people, like you're saying, to like Indian as, like, the olive complexion?
Yeah, that's just the mixing of, Chinese, European, us mixing. You're going to have, a rainbow of people. That's just what it is. It's nothing that we can stop, prevent, or whatever like that, but that's why when you deal with this, you get back to the origin of people. So there's people who, for example, there's people in Europe that are pale, that classify themselves as British, Scottish, or whatever like that. They'll tell you that they come from people who look like us. Their ancestors weren't pale people.
And then on the royal flags they have Moors, right?
Right?
Yeah.
All the coat of arms, they have dark-skinned people on them.
Yeah, like the Pope and stuff.
Like the family names of European families, they recognize that they were subject at one time. But now because of the tables turning, now we're the subject, because we're thinking that free white person, this status applies to people who are pale, so they take it, and now once they take this, now they have rulership. Because Law Dictionary tells you that this does not apply to any Caucasians. So as soon as somebody takes this and applies it to a Caucasian, you just gave up your sovereign status to them. Now they're using your sovereign status to give you no justice, and then you're talking about justice or else when you even have no intention of busting a cap in a European.
You don't necessarily have to use violence.
You know what or else mean?
I think he was talking about...
Because remember, he's talking about injustices that we got. The only reason that they're bringing up a second Million Man March is because of all these police shootings or whatever.
Right.
If there was no police shootings, they wouldn't be talking about no Million Man March again.
I understand. But what I think he also has planned is to try to pull away the black dollar.
Pull away the
black dollar.
The black dollar.
Okay.
The black dollar is counterfeit.
What do you mean?
United States Constitution. Article
It's 5.
yeah. Okay, getting to the only money is gold and silver. If it's not gold and silver, it can't be classified as money.
So it's not only the black dollar's counterfeit.
So
the
our
whole currency right now.
yeah, everything's counterfeit.
Because what would the black dollar be backed by?
I got a definition of money.
It's an IOU. IOU, basically.
Right, yeah, hit that money
So the
definition.
legal definition of money is unusual and ordinary exception. It means gold, silver, or paper money used as circulating medium of exchange and does not embrace notes, which is what we carry around as paper, bonds, or evidence of debt, which is like credit cards, and other personal or real estate.
Right, so gold, silver, and paper backed by gold and silver is money. So if he says they're gonna pull away the black dollar, right? What's it going to? After they pull it, after they say okay or else, justice or else, we're gonna pull away the black dollar, and then the day after this thing right here, if this goes down, the day after the march, nobody should be spending any fiat, any money, dollar, whatever, with any European companies or anything. That ain't happening. Because half the stuff that these people got come from European. That they got right now. We're gonna take a tally of shoes in here. Bet you everything comes from some European. And then we go to the march, and then you get all the jackets, and then all the jeans, and then all the army clothes that they got, all these flags that they're getting made in China talking about they're supporting their own or whatever like that. They have RBG sneakers now. Made by who? Made by who?
Yo, that's messed up. There's not enough black entrepreneurs to begin with.
So or else pull the black dollar is irrelevant because you should have enough so-called black businesses
we still don't know
to put the funds for, that's what the point is.
That's what I started with.
That's what the point is. Or else what? What are we or else it about? That's what the point is.
We gotta do it again,
right? What, next 20 years?
Nah. But
the first minimum
we gotta figure something out. We gotta
first
pull
minimum
our
march didn't
resources.
do anything.
It's a ritual, man.
Yeah, exactly. The first
Right?
every march.
So this is where it comes into.
Still getting shot down in the streets every day, and they're getting up with it.
Right. So this is why.
History just proves itself. It ain't gonna do nothing. It's gonna look good. It's gonna be good for news and good for people's emotions and whatever. But
it is gonna do a lot. It's gonna do a lot because people are gonna see it and then they're gonna be.
But they seen it 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Nah, but when you saw it 20 years ago, you're probably like, how old were you?
But what nothing happened though.
They're gonna waste. They're gonna waste all that. They're gonna waste all
but
that
we
time
can't.
going that
The
much.
thing is, we can't be caught up on people. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
Like we can't be caught up in people like fanatics for a fair economy, Malcolm X or whoever. It's about the results. That's all it comes down to.
And there was none.
Or else-
There was no
yeah,
results.
that's what I'm saying. So like a
So
motivation.
you know it's like somebody name somebody says okay you know I'm gonna start this store,
It's
right?
like
I'm gonna start this store.
I
We're
think
gonna call it ABC Company,
Mhm.
right? And we founded in 1995. It fails, and then 2015 you're gonna start a company called ABC Company again, knowing that it already failed in that name.
Or it's like
That's incompetence.
It's like an artist. It's like a music artist.
It didn't fail. They protested
You know,
and
holding
like
a concert,
the same
nobody-
thing that happens
never
every time somebody protests.
So
Nothing
why are they
happens.
still doing it?
Exactly.
So why are they still doing it then?
So they're not gonna protest this time. They're planning like this time. In my opinion,
Well,
if
we
I'm
have to
gonna
see
make
it.
my best guess,
I'll put money.
if I made my best
Alright.
guess
Gold
today,
episode.
I'd say you know what you're gonna have man's like a lot of rappers are gonna be showing up this time.
Farrakhan met with the rappers already.
Let me keep it a buck.
Farrakhan told all the rappers, "Come on down to this meeting."
And a lot of these dudes are like T.I. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna be ready to do
Ready to
what
do
they
what?
need to do.
Do what?
Whatever it means.
What's
They're gonna
what?
defend themselves. Point is, they're not gonna be getting shot in the street while they're protesting. And if nobody gets shot, that'll be a good day.
I
But
think
I'm
we're
pretty
missing
sure
the point, guys.
It's gonna go down. And if something goes down,
Right?
Family, I think we're
we're
missing
no
the
better
point.
off.
Hey, everyone, hey.
One
listen,
second.
Listen,
Um,
one thing, we're getting off point here. Let's try and stay on point.
I
right?
think we're missing the point of this whole exercise and what we're trying to portray in terms of getting across. We have to start from the word black. If you call yourself black, if you call yourself Aboriginal, if you call yourself Native, if you call yourself Indigenous, those words are all adjectives. What is an adjective? An adjective describes. Is anyone in here that color of this chair?
No.
So then we cannot be black. It's an adjective. That's what we're missing the point of. I'm going to use an example of this week, for instance, when on my trip. just shortly because I wanted to do a half an hour class on it, on what happened with me down there. I was amongst quote unquote black people, white people, when I was on a tour guide. And I was wearing my fez when we were in the bus. The guide himself, he kept trying to avoid me. But once he started speaking about indigenous rights of the people down in the Yucatan, for instance, he could not help but say, and by the way, the gentleman in the back with the red cap on, the red tabush, because he was from Lebanon, the tour guide. With the tabush on, he is exercising his rights as an indigenous person.
So, saying that about you?
About myself, because I was in the back with the fez. Nobody really knew what I was wearing, but he knew. He just didn't want to say anything, but he had to. And he said, and this is what I'm trying to get my people within the village to be recognized, their indigenous rights. He is following his ancestors.
Well, what made him say that? Like,
Because he knows.
He knows.
We're the only one that don't know.
okay.
Everybody, and
Because you said you seen your fez.
That's it.
Okay.
Just,
He
just
saw-
like
he
the
saw my
Shriners.
fez.
Okay.
So I got into the town, and as I said, I was amongst black people, white people, everybody.
Last question, sorry to cut you off,
Go
but
ahead.
this was a town only for the indigenous people.
No, well, more or less, he was basically saying that everybody in Mexico is indigenous.
Okay, cool.
They just don't know it.
Because you said there's certain places that only the
Okay,
natives.
as I said, I'm gonna give I'm just giving you a little brief on it.
Cool.
In the town, I took a picture with a brother. He's from the U.S. part, and remember, we look alike. You'll see the picture. Everybody was gravitating to me. They weren't even paying him no mind. They called him Negro.
Negro.
Like literally. And these were people who did not, they didn't even speak Spanish, they spoke Mayan.
In Spanish, negro means black, right? Yeah.
Right? They called him that. They did not call me that. It was an experience that I said I have to give it justice and speak on it a little bit more in depth.
What did they call you?
They just looked at me. They didn't call me nothing.
Oh, no, okay.
They called him Negro. Oh, he's with that Negro.
Uh-huh.
Right? So, in terms of who we are as a people, and we speak about Farrakhan, we're missing the point of where we're supposed to be and where we should be in terms of a national or naturalization. We are not black in terms of who we are. So once we say that Million Man March, all the black people get together, let's go march. If you subscribe to being black and go march, it's the King Alfred plan all over again.
Might get shot in the street.
Right?
So what do you propose?
I don't propose. I cannot propose. What I am, in terms of who I am, and what I am saying is, are you that color? I'm not telling you who you are. I'm not telling you who you're going to be or whatever. I'm asking you a question. Are you that color?
Of course not.
Start from there.
So then, if you're not that,
If you're not that,
then the next logical thing is, what am I? Who am I? What am I tied to?
Okay.
Because I've been told forever that's what I am. I've been told forever that we came from Africa, but if that's not Africa, because it's really South Asia, that's why Chinese people could go there and take over all the mines there, and the Africans can't do nothing about it.
But we call it Al-Qibalan, right?
Okay, but-
Al-Qibalan.
Right? And then Africans getting mad because Europeans come in there. Well, they don't call it Africa.
So where do you go from here? That's all I want to know.
It go from here. We go to.
Because obviously the Farrakhan Million Man March is not a good thing.
No.
No, it's not.
As I said,
No,
we're missing the point. And as I said, this is the point.
what's the point?
Are you that color?
I already answered that.
Okay, so
but wait a
if
minute, Amari, I think he is correct in saying that.
No,
He's correct in taking the next evolution.
Absolutely,
to the
and
fact
that's
that
what we're-
possibly marching
but
and
he
and
mentioned-
protesting is
yeah.
not the, so he's now asking
Okay.
where next,
Okay.
so I wouldn't go back in my mind.
No. We mentioned in terms of Farrakhan.
Right.
What you asked me, what am I suggesting? What I'm saying is go down the line of everything that we've been called. Go down the line of everything that's happened to the people that's called themselves those things. What's happened to them? Right? Once we analyze that, we will realize, okay, wait a second here. What were we called 20,000 years ago? 10,000 years
There
ago?
wasn't a name because we just knew who
Okay.
we were.
Right? We knew who we were.
Okay,
Now we don't.
now we don't.
Yeah.
Which is why Noble Drew Ali came.
All right.
For us to know who we were again. Right? But people who he relayed the information to, they didn't tell everybody. They said, we're going to take this information over here, we're going to call it whatever, present it in a new way, and have everybody follow this. Slavery. Next guy comes up, oh yeah, we're going to call ourselves whatever.
Indoctrination.
And,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
right? When it's not supposed to, that's not what their duty is as a leader.
Right.
Their duty as a leader is to inspire people, that's it. Inspire people, let them go do their own thing. They don't need to be following you on some march going all the way to Washington,
But
wasting.
that's the thing about being a man. Like once you're human, you're subject to error, making mistakes. Like you're not gonna be perfect. It's for us to learn from those mistakes and to make improvements.
if the man knows based on previous mistakes what shouldn't be done, and he's still doing the stuff that was done previously, obviously that's not a man. Obviously he's working for the other side. Sellout, agent, whatever you want to call him, traitor.
Once you pay your taxes, you're a trader, buddy.
Once you
pay your taxes, you're a trader.
Farrakhan pays his taxes, doesn't he?
And we all pay taxes.
I don't pay no taxes.
Oh yeah? You don't? How do you make purchases without paying taxes?
Because we're national.
National.
Show me how to do that. That's
Which
what I
is
want
the
to know. That's
difference,
what I'm here
right?
to show me how to do
Right?
that.
And see, and that's why
It doesn't happen like that.
that's why for ourselves, right? It's about us having this information presented to people so that people can be clear in their mind, because we can show you how to do, but then when you go out there and you use the card that doesn't work, then you're gonna blame us about it doesn't work. When it's not because of us why it doesn't work, it's because your mindset is still Negro black colored.
Yeah.
So a Negro black colored can't be a national that gets taxes off.
Right.
So it's about changing mindset first. That's why it appears like we're being redundant.
But we've been put into this rat trap or a maze or whatever.
We put ourselves in it, because remember.
I never asked to be born in Canada. I can't even escape this prison, fam.
Yeah, but right? You might not have asked to be born in Canada, right? But you chose your mom to come through on the earth plane.
What?
Okay. See, this is, all right. So
Your
everything
mom
is
and
a
your
mindset.
dad.
It's
Your mom and your dad didn't make you. Your mom and your dad didn't make you.
All right.
You chose to come back here. The reason why you're in this room right now is because you're a returned spirit. You wouldn't have walked through this door with your brethren, cousin, or whatever if you weren't vibrating on some type of etheric frequency that I'm gonna go listen to him and go check this thing out to see what's going on. Only people who are on that level come through the door. Anybody else, they stay outside, they do their nigger stuff, whatever that they want to do out there. That's their business. Right? But it's a process. It ain't gonna happen overnight. Just like getting your degree, your school stuff. Brother's a mechanic, right? Does body work. He didn't do that yesterday and then today he's whatever. It's a process. So the purpose of this is to go through the process so that we can first get our mind right, and then once we get our mind right, then we get our spirit right. Now we could start talking about go out there and do some things, marching, picketing, or whatever like that, because it's now going to have some type of value when we do it. When we look at, remember when the Sri Lankans shut down the Gardener? When they were striking for whatever.
I wasn't watching that, but
right? You heard about it? You heard about the
when was that, like
Punjabis?
3 years ago?
Maybe like What was it?
At least 11 years ago.
A little while ago.
A while
A while ago.
The genocide.
Right? Yeah, the genocide going on in Sri Lanka. Yeah. And then they shut down the Gardener. Rush hour.
Right. That was like the last real good protest that
Right? Okay.
But it wasn't a
There
protest.
wasn't a protest.
That wasn't a
That
protest.
was nationals standing up for
Yeah.
abuse that was happening to nationals. So Canada, as a quote unquote hub for all these nationals to come to get out of the stuff that's going on in their country, they had to do something about it. Which is what the whole issue was with them going and marching, because they weren't doing nothing about it. Canada just sitting down like, well, that has nothing to do with us. Yeah, but there's people from Sri Lanka in your country. What do you mean it has nothing to do?
And those are people that went through the naturalization process.
Those are the
Well, okay, but they're
yeah,
still
but
nationals.
they're still nationals where they're from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over here, they might be subject,
Yeah.
but where they're from, they're national.
Okay.
So,
Right.
when they locked off the garden, what became of that? What was the outcome?
The outcome was Canada wrote their little letter to whoever in Sri Lanka or whatever like
Stop.
that, and told them they need to, stop doing what they're doing, because these people, and then everything's done. You ain't hear nothing from them ever again.
Yeah. Cops didn't do
They
anything.
don't want us, the general public, to know that either.
Right.
So what Farrakhan's doing right now, right?
Mhm.
Because personally, I think that is strength in unity.
Mhm.
So if you gather all these people now, like everybody's like has one mind towards doing one goal,
Yeah.
I'm saying nothing could come out of it.
If people have one perspective, we don't have one perspective, because if we take a tally of everybody that goes to the Million Man March, as far as, okay, what's your status? Everybody who comes, we have a paper and we check off, what they call themselves, what nation they represent or whatever like that. You're gonna have all these people saying, oh yeah, unity, but they have 500 different stuff that they're calling themselves. That's not unity.
It's not unity.
And then not only that, the or else leaves you knowing that they don't have the next step. What are they unifying behind? Or else. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So all of that's in the language there. The or else is there should be something. Justice, or we're going to, but they're not telling you that. So that's part of it. That lets you then, as I said in the beginning, that lets you then know that.
Right, and they know that because of the desperation of the people in these times, right? Never having received any type of just compensation for anything that happens to them, they know that they need to be very careful what they say, because like bro was saying, there's some brothers out there who like TI or whatever, they got guns and AKs and stuff like that, and they're willing to do some things for their freedom.
Yeah.
But didn't we already see that
Right.
at the Baltimore, what happened in Baltimore, where things did actually take place? Like,
What took place?
well, just
The
there was
mass
actually
community.
violence. You know what I mean? That or else could that not be the or else that took place? At
Yeah, but I mean, what
Nothing changed.
you know what I mean? They burned all their stuff down.
Yeah.
I ain't war. What else?
But I feel like there's a lot of
Yeah.
catch-22s happening.
Yeah, most definite. But it's
There's a reason.
we're in the catch-22.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's stuff that was pre the catch-22 that led to it being a catch-22. If they stuck to the program that they were supposed to stick to, right? No matter who they classify themselves as, whether it's Garveyites, Rastafarians, Nation of Gods and Earths, Nation of Islam, Hebrew Israelites, whoever. If they stuck to the program of national first, and then say Hebrew, whatever, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now.
So you're saying there's a lot of confusion and we need some clarity.
That's what it's about. Clearing up the people's perspective on what they think has been happening to them. And the thing that's been happening to them isn't solely based on some European that's racist or KKK or whatever. Really, 80% of our enslavement is our own people.
Understood.
For example, first time I've been here, I brought my 8-year-old stepson. He listened, he learned that he's not black. He go home, tell his mom telling him, don't go back to that place because you're black.
Yeah.
You see what he's talking about?
Yeah, sure.
The mother that carried him for 9 months. And I'm not talking about something I hear. I am the one who bring him here. I didn't teach him nothing. He come here and he learn it. He listen, he learn it. He go back home to who? Mom.
Where's his mom from? Jamaica? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
To mom. He was supposed to come today, and I won't go to that story. But I'm going to show you. I'm only trying to tell you, when you start to know yourself and declare yourself, there is problem coming. Don't forget. There is problem coming.
A child knows, and see that's the thing. As I said, I have 3 young gods, and in retrospect, I don't have to tell them that you're not black, you're black, whatever. I always ask them, what color are you? Oh, skin's brown, daddy. Are you that color? No. From that mindset, I don't say, oh, you know, you're black. There's a dinner. I just, what color is your skin?
Like I said, I didn't tell him. He come here and he come to school and he learn it in his class.
Yeah.
So it's like by himself in class. Take home to mom what he learned in class. I didn't tell him. I bring him to school.
Exactly.
Right, but now he's gonna go now to regular school, and they're gonna be Christopher Columbus or whatever, and then he's gonna go home with that, and they'll be like, oh yeah, Christopher Columbus founded us.
Sure.
And this is why we're in this catch-22.
Exactly.
Right? Because because you know we want our people to acknowledge themselves. Right? We want our people to know with a surety. Just like if you see somebody that's from whatever nation and you challenge them on who they are, they're gonna tell you about historical stuff. They're gonna tell you that they got a religion. They're gonna tell you about what their ancestors used to do. They might even pull out some books. They might even present some customs to you. Like the Hindus will say, 12 o'clock, everything stops, and come, let's drink some tea. That's just their custom. Nobody taught them. That's just something that they've been doing for millennia, right? What customs we have as our people, right? We never even looked up customs to even know what customs are as far as our people. You know what I mean? But the trendy taboo things become our customs. You know what I mean? Right? So we want to also put on the record the types of citizenship. Okay? So you have national, citizen, subject, alien. And keep in mind that our people are classified here and sometimes classified here. Right? Our people never get to this or this.
Black people.
Yeah. Right? Quote unquote.
Quote.
Okay? National, the highest rank of citizenship. The natural people of the land, the Aboriginal and Indigenous people. So that's the same thing that the Mayan, Aztec or whatever was relaying to the brother, using him as an example for his people that he was the tour guide of, letting them know that brother right there, he knows his ancestry, because all these people in this jurisdiction that I'm doing this tour guide of, they see themselves somewhere here. They don't look at themselves as here, because the national is the highest rank of citizenship. But they don't see themselves as the highest rank of citizenship. They see themselves as subordinate to whoever claims that they're the highest rank. Which in this case, dark is the lowest and light is the highest, based on skin complexion. But that's not legitimate. That's a fraudulent position to say that the citizenry, the type of citizen, is based on social status and class and all that stuff. All that, that's not what it's about.
The Hindu caste system?
I wouldn't say that it directly comes from it, but there's influence from that.
Okay.
Because remember that India was a company of Britain.
Okay.
Right? That India is not a land.
Yeah.
India is a European private corporation that so-called Hindus fell under, and when they went into that, that's how they came on the low caste of being whatever. If they stayed national, if they stayed indigenous,
And they know.
right? If they stayed Hindustani, right? Instead of being Indian, right? They would have kept their national sovereignty as Hindu, right? And then Hindustan is the actual name of India, right? Just like we say anything above Mexico is Morocco. That's why we can fly this flag. And Morocco over there in Africa can't tell us nothing about flying this. Because they have no jurisdiction. They were started in 1956. This flag been around for 10,000 years on this side. But if our people don't know that, then they're gonna go after all these other red, black, green. They're gonna go after Ethiopian stuff. This ain't Ethiopia. Why are you claiming Ethiopian flag and you're in America? Why don't you just go to Ethiopia and be Ethiopian? But they're not gonna do that because that means being responsible. You're gonna go over there. You're gonna have to take trucks, tractors, all the stuff over there because you're gonna have to build up over there, right?
Can I just clarify something? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking, like, all those classifications, did that form out of the Civil War against the United States?
These classes of citizenship have been around since the founding of the United States, because prior to Europeans coming over here, we had our own system, our own governmental system that didn't even have anything to do with this, because everybody was indigenous, everybody was native, so it's not. There's no need. Everybody knows who the head of every single tribe's chief or whatever. Everybody knew who it was. It wasn't anything where you had to.
That sorry to cut you off, but that the classifications of the types of citizens was used to kind of how do you say it, neutralize citizenship between the natural or the nationals and the
aliens.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Right? But with nationals and aliens, these in between now have to do with slavery that was going on, right? People who are coming as alien, but not wanting to tie to this because they know that if they tie to this, they have a better status being tied here than being tied as an alien.
And that's when they were talking about how there's Indian, or not Indians, but aliens, meaning Europeans, buying native status.
Right.
Yeah, native status.
Right. Because they recognize that being an alien is not really
subordinate to that.
It's not really beneficial, right? And then once they said that, okay, well, we're gonna tie ourselves to the Indian tribes. Once they tied themselves to the Indian tribes, right?
Oh, but
they got themselves. They got the so-called natives out of their status.
Yeah.
Because India is not over here. India is over there. So if you're claiming to be Indian, you better be from India.
So wait.
Or you're subject to whoever said you're Indian.
So when we had them in our possession, like some Europeans and stuff like that, right? When they created emancipation for like us to free, the Civil War for us to free certain Europeans, right? So when they ran into when some Europeans were like freeing, running away from our slave plantations or whatever. That's how we got like the natives, right, or the Indians, through them mixing with other like our people. You know what I mean? When they escaped from our motherland and stuff like that.
No, well, when you look at the relationship between Europeans and natives, it's the same thing as slavery reversed. Just think about slavery and how their relationship was, but reversed. So the European was actually the slave. The European was the one in the barn getting raped and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't that was happening to Asiatics first. The Europeans were the ones who were the first slaves. So they're alien. Because one, when you understand that not every European, the real classification of European is based on albinism. It's not people from Europe. The real Europeans are like yellow man. People who have this skin deficiency of melanin. Those are the real quote unquote European people. After that, the Europeans that we see now, that we say are Europeans, those people weren't totally straight from humanity. Some of them were created. Not all of them, but some of them were created people. This is why you have the whole thing about when we had white people up here, and you ask them, they don't claim that because they know that that's not who they are. They know that it's not about skin complexion. If you say white people, they know it's about status, and they know that the only people who have the status of white are the free nationals.
When you talk about white people being created, are you talking about grafted?
Yeah.
Genetically engineered?
Right.
That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? But that was only blonde hair, blue eyed. So if they're not blonde hair, blue eyed, somewhere down the line they have Moors in their blood. They have dark skinned people in their genealogy. Somewhere down the line. Once they're not blonde hair, blue eyed. If they're blonde hair, blue eyed, they come from a succession of, now, not all, because you even have Asiatics, dark-skinned people. Two dark-skinned people come together, make an albino child with blue eyes or whatever. So even in that aspect, not all of them, blue-eyed, blonde hair, are necessarily grafted. But this is confusion that we're born into, that we have to get out of. It's how you look and how you whatever and all that stuff, and get back to the national standards in order to create the unity. Because there, like I know there's some Europeans who stand up on rights and nationality and things like that harder than dark-skinned people. So we can't necessarily, cast them out like that. The devil, the enemy, and all that stuff. That's black stuff. That's not where we want to be.
Do you think Europeans are quote unquote white people are inferior to people?
If they're inferior, I wouldn't say that they're inferior. From a genetic perspective, yeah. Because we know that sun kills them. Sun does kill them. But documented stuff where Europeans are like, we don't even know what to do. How about just stay out the sun or whatever, sunblock or whatever like that. But
they know what to do. They're doing it.
I heard this melanin. Put it into pills.
Yeah, melatonin pills.
Yeah, the melatonin.
Melatonin and melanin are different.
No. Melatonin is a mixture from the melanin.
No, it's two different chemicals in the brain. Melatonin is what makes you sleep and it reacts to darkness.
Okay.
So it's not the same compound as melanin.
But just like you just mentioned, it relaxes to darkness.
It reacts, it's not causing darkness.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Alright.
Right?
Alright, before you go on, I also heard that when you look at sunblock, and what light you use, like under ultraviolet light, like I said, the cream is actually like black. There's a certain kind of like, I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
heard
it
about
turns
it.
their skin black because it blocks out the ultraviolet rays, which is what carbon does when it looks it towards the sun. That's why they have to wipe it all over the space shuttles and all this stuff. This is actual carbon. It's what they're calling melanin is actually carbon. But that stuff causes cancer. That stuff, when you put it on your skin, it will cause you to get skin cancer. Like Irish Spring soap is a chemical reaction with the sun. It will cause your skin to burn. It's all garbage. If you're gonna be in long extended periods of time in the sun, there's things from the earth like shea butter or coconut oil that you can put on your skin. Because overexposure to the sun, nobody's supposed to be standing in the sun for 9 hours a day, which they have farm workers doing. That's why you'll find that they have skin, like if they've gotten skin cancer or whatever, because of overexposure. So no one's supposed to be standing in it that long.
You believe in sun gazing? Like people staring, doesn't that damage your eyes?
No, I do it, man.
You do that? Yeah.
You can do it.
Because I've read that it damages your eyes.
No.
Damages the Europeans.
Depends on your eyes.
You just don't sun gaze at 12 o'clock noon.
Okay.
Yeah.
You either sun gaze at sunrise or sundown.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When the sun is,
Yes.
when the planet and the sun is on the horizontal plane. So it's almost at the what do you call that? The horizontal plane.
Horizon,
Yeah.
Horizon.
Okay.
But it works.
Yeah.
But you don't do it in, like I said, in high noon.
No, you
Yeah.
don't.
You know what I mean? When the sun's at the strongest.
What time did you do this?
Either sundown
Yeah,
or
sundown or
sunrise.
sunrise.
And it's an hour period. So like if you're gonna do that sundown, you do it an hour before the sun sets.
Uh-huh.
Or if you're gonna do it in sunrise, you do it an hour after
Mm-hmm.
sunrise. But you don't do it past that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Alright, so national is the indigenous people, the people who are of the land. So wherever we go in the world, the people who are of the land would be nationals. Whether their government sold out has contracts with people to make them citizens and lower statuses, we're not even going with that. We just go with national people from the landmass are the nationals. Right? So we want our people to get back to that place before they do anything. Recognize that you're the actual people of the land. And there was no bringing people here and all that stuff. Everybody who they so-called, those millions of people that they got in slavery came from here.
So how much people were on the boats then?
Find me a boat.
Real talk.
What part was destroyed? So you said that there was no boat, there was no slave.
I mean, you know, if they can show me a slave flyer, they sold slaves. Oh yeah, slave catchers catch a slave. If they can show me some slave anklets and stuff like that, they can show me all the stuff that they used in slavery.
So-
They can show me everything to do with slavery except a slave boat.
One.
I'm skeptical
We're saying
of
it's a
slavery.
hoax. We're saying it's a hoax.
Where's the boat at?
Yeah. True.
Just show me
You're
the
saying
boat.
that the ship named Jesus never existed.
Where's the boat at? All I want to do is just show me the boat. Anybody who has a claim, anybody who has a claim,
Science.
Okay.
Are you saying that
anybody.
never existed?
anybody who has a claim,
Well, they
right?
say the same thing about the Bible. If
Anybody who has a claim.
Who knows Ark, then you know, it's the same thing.
If you claim that you came over here on a slave ship, find me, show me, present for evidence the ship that you came over here on.
Just one.
It's not
So
even
it's a hoax thing.
monogamy.
You don't believe in slavery. There's no slavery.
There was
So man's never came over on boats.
I mean, as far
as Europeans capturing people and bringing them over here, that's crazy talk. By the millions,
By the millions? No.
Nonsense.
Some came over.
3 months on a boat,
No food.
no food, no water, people pissing, shitting on each other or whatever,
And irrigation system in the boat to clear.
and you just came over here.
Not possible. Science.
And then on top of that, remember they have the picture of them lying down on the whatever. So they're lying down for 3 months, and then they just get up off the ship and then they're just walking just like that.
Think about it, like when you're in a hospital and someone's bedridden, Every couple hours, they need to get someone over there to rotate them. Because your heart only pumps, let's say, I don't know the actual number, but your heart pumps like 70% of the fluids in your body, and then movement gets the rest of the fluids around in your body. So if they're laying for 3 months, they'll be dead in 2 weeks.
But they said that they threw some of them over because of the crowd.
If you're laying longer than 2 weeks without moving, you're dead.
True.
Plus, remember
There's no way around it.
Remember last week you were saying to go on trips for that long, there's only a certain amount of water and food you could carry.
Because you can't drink seawater.
You can't drink seawater. So basically, if you had so many people on one boat,
You need to bring that much amount
have
of
to
water
bring
for 3 months for each
it's
person.
impossible.
Not scientifically impossible.
It's scientifically impossible.
But that's what they use to get you to separate
And
yourself from the
another thing
land.
too, look at us, how we are now. In this time, you think they could take a bunch of us now, put on a boat,
And just bring us
I want
over.
to smuggle gun pallet and all kind of thing and kill them off and take it. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Right.
No, just it's not gonna happen.
But when you understand,
No, we're talking about.
but when you
Now,
understand,
if you're talking about, you know, few hundred or something like that,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna go with maybe a few hundred or something.
No, I-
Millions
No,
though?
I just seen. I watched a stand-up comedy with Chris Tucker, and he said you can never kidnap a black person because they'll always just ask you questions. They'll be like when am I going back home? Like my mom doesn't want me out. Like
Yeah.
it's just so hard to kidnap or terrorize you. Like you
Yeah.
can never be in that situation.
but when you understand that concept, they didn't bring us here as slaves.
Yeah.
Then you realize that the reason why they came up with a story like that is to separate us from the landmass. So if you have it in your mentality thinking that you're slaves, you'll never identify with being an Aboriginal and Indigenous person to the landmass known as
Part
Morocco.
of the reconstruction.
So now every one of our people are trying to go back to Africa and they ain't from Africa. You see what I'm saying? Now we're
But that's
from
where
here.
we originated though.
No, we don't live here too.
What they did
Okay.
is they transferred us along this continent. They moved us from Jamaica to the tip of Florida. They did those kind of things. They're just transferring us around on the same landmass. And that's now where I realize when you see the boats would be good for 2 weeks. They're putting them like that for a week.
It lasts longer than that.
You trap them, you can put all those people on a boat for like a week, or a couple of days. You just couldn't go across the
Atlantic.
The
Impossible.
Atlantic.
So that's what they did. They took that boat and they made you think that boat was going across the Atlantic when it was really just going from Jamaica.
From Jamaica,
to
that's
Bahamas
90 miles.
That's
From
it.
Jamaica to Cuba, 90 miles.
Right.
So if they bring you to slave to Cuba, it's 90 miles.
And they could transfer 300 people like that.
That's
They
all
could-
right.
They couldn't do that across the
Right,
Atlantic.
and
From there to Miami, from Jamaica to Miami, same,
and the other part
easy.
of it is, if they did bring us from over there, so many hundreds of years ago, you tell me not one African nation
Take us back.
took us back? Yes.
Good question.
When it's a fact that we came from over there, if it's a fact that we came from over there, then we need to be questioning some of these so-called instead of Million Man marching or whatever like that. How about Million Man boat back to Africa?
Yeah.
Isn't that what
They got the money to do it.
That's a different thing. That's a whole.
You know what I mean? And then you know, with regard to Garvey, he wasn't taking anybody back anywhere. That was about trade.
Did you hear about when they said if you declare your nationalism in Africa, they're gonna give you like land and some money and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
No, did you hear about that?
Yeah, that's real.
They did that to Sizzla.
That's real. They
Sizzla
do that.
performed in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And they said they didn't have any money to pay him. And asked him if he'd accept land. And Sizzla said, yeah, no problem. They gave him a farm in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Robert Mugabe.
But you know,
Is that still?
but he's not over there though. He's in yacht. How come he's not? How come he stayed in Zimbabwe? How come that's a place where he'll go sometimes, but not live there? If they're from Africa and they push all that Africa stuff in their reggae song,
Freeland there.
You get used to where you are too.
but they know they're not from there.
No, well,
And if the
True,
people,
no, I get the point.
if the people themselves, right, would you know, we have a saying that the priesthood is dead, right? If the people themselves would take responsibility for their own welfare, we get out of half the stuff tomorrow that we're dealing with. But people don't want to do that. People want followers. People want to be chasing somebody because they say they're the leader of something. It's not about chasing nobody, especially if people you're chasing haven't done anything for you for the past how much ever years they've been in power. They haven't done nothing for you. All they keep doing is getting nicer suits, nicer building, nicer car, and then people are suffering still going to their whatever, still, you know, dealing with this colonizer abusing them. But, you know, the ones in power, they don't get no abuse. They get to go anywhere. They get to go here, be agents and all that type of stuff. And nobody's not stopping and saying, hold on a second. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did Farrakhan get back into the country? He's supposed to be locked up.
In what country? What do you mean get back?
US.
Yeah, because when he went to Libya to go see Gaddafi.
How long ago was that?
This was like 90s. He's back in the country though. Man, ain't nobody questioned anything about it. But you know,
isn't he a U.S. citizen?
They said he couldn't
remember what we talked about. If he's a
Yeah.
U.S. citizen,
Yeah.
then that means he's subject.
He uses
If he's subject, then that means all that stuff that he's talking or whatever like that is a fraud.
So how do you get back in?
This is more shame.
Well, it's national. Well, treaties.
But he's not gonna tell people that. Because if he tells people,
Yeah, but I thought Africa come back right now.
yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you can.
So what's the difference?
You listen.
The difference is you're not an agent
At the time he
of
went,
you're not an agent of U.S. Corporation.
U.S. and Libya.
and Muammar was about to destroy the U.S. He was about to
Yeah, he was
take
told not to come back.
Africa's dinar.
Yeah, they said if he went to Libya, he couldn't come back. So it's not the same as you going to Libya and coming back.
Hold on. What did you say?
Yeah, when he went to Libya,
Yeah.
he was told don't come back.
In 1995?
Yeah. Well, when
Oh, no.
after that,
Right,
well,
a little
way
before
that.
Yeah.
If he came back, what was gonna happen?
They wouldn't
What
let
was
him
the
in.
threat? What was the threat?
He was gonna be
Or-
arrested.
or
He was
else?
going to be arrested.
But
For
then
what?
they did that to the basketball
Treason.
player Dennis Rodman or whatever when he went
So
to.
how'd he come back?
Yeah, to go see Korean.
I
He
just told you, he became a national. He became
Became a
national.
national. Took back his
became a national, and instead of going through New York, he went through New Orleans.
Why did you choose New Orleans? The Washington
Go.
Wizards or?
You know?
Aboriginal Indigenous
Aboriginal Indigenous.
jurisdiction.
Oh, okay.
Come again? What do you mean?
Because if you are claiming, okay,
And
his,
it's all underneath the U.S. You gotta explain this. It's crazy.
My bad.
No,
I'm
no,
just-
right now, now,
They did it to Yassine Bey too, as well.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
left.
Yeah,
Right.
isn't that all in the U.S.? Just clarify that.
as far as what?
The,
You have to
New
separate-
Orleans and New York. So why did he go through New Orleans and not New York?
Because
Is
of
that
their
all?
jurisdictions, because it's really Timbuktu. Which one? New Jersey's
Like
really
if
Timbuktu.
if you look at
It's, well,
They made their
Yeah.
own jurisdictions.
Yeah, you're gonna have
They said
to-
this is mine now, and they relabeled them.
before
all.
you,
So-
before you try, as I said, this is where, in terms of information comes in. For instance, let's look at the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment, how many sections did you know about? 2. There's 20 of them. Section 18.
13th Amendment.
13th Amendment. My
Isn't the
fault.
13th and 14th Amendment applicable to black people? So no?
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
There's a article in there that states that anyone of African descent cannot become a U.S. citizen.
Where's all these people that so-called slaves come from? Africa, right?
Right?
So then they can't be a citizen
Can't be
of the United States, which is a private corporation.
Yeah.
Which you can't be a citizen of that, really and truly,
Yeah.
because it's a corporation. You can't be a citizen of McDonald's.
Right. So he can't be punished under their laws.
If he's nationalized, he can't be.
Yeah.
If he goes through this process of declaring himself a national, then he's not subject to the laws, quote unquote, of the United States corporation.
They just tried to put that label on him, saying that he's a citizen when he was leaving, so they could try to control him.
Try to control him when he can, but
And he knew that.
With nationality.
Right. So then, if he knew that, shouldn't he be telling all these other people?
Oh, there you go.
Because remember, he escaped persecution by doing this. Right? He escaped persecution. If he didn't do this, he would probably be locked up still. A good example to use is Jeff Fort. Same thing. Jeff Fort was one of the so-called founders of gangs or whatever. All right?
How do you
But
spell the last name? How do you spell it?
Fort, F-O-R-T. But he was teaching the gangs about this info. That's why he became a threat, and he's right now in Supermax.
Yeah, and that's why they don't like when people spread knowledge. They don't like that. Because they
So why is Farrakhan? So doesn't that let you know that Farrakhan's working for the other side?
You have the knowledge.
How is he can't work for them? He's still
How,
trying.
how is he not working for
said
the other
yourself,
side?
they
You
don't
just
like
said it yourself.
Yeah, I said
That
no. I
people
said
who
that
don't-
they don't like to when people spread the knowledge.
Right.
It doesn't
They
mean
imprison them, they kill them.
Yeah.
write them
All
out.
right. So did they do that to Farrakhan yet?
Malcolm
No.
killed
So
him.
he's
He
alive.
knows how to walk the line.
What line?
Yeah, you're right.
There's a line.
What line?
Stop, you're
Alright, let's get back to this.
Right?
Let's get back to this.
You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know what I mean? The pill to swallow is like this. With regard to all these people that we've been following, and we get this, you know what I mean, emotional attachment to them because, you know what I mean, they brought me out of whatever, and when I was in jail I read this, and when I was down this guy's book helped me do whatever, but if they're not talking this,
It comes back.
and they're still around talking,
Bro, I'm not trying to be biased, man. I'm just looking at it like I'm looking at it objectively. Really and truly, I don't go to the NOI anymore. Like I used to go. I'm here today because I want to know really what's really popping.
and we're letting you know what's
I shouldn't even say
popping.
black people. I should say with our people.
We're letting you know
You know
what's
what I'm
popping.
And this is it seems like there's a lot of confusion, and I get it. That's why me personally, I do have my own business. I'll tell you, it's called Defeato or Fredo. It means that affect music has on the audience, and that is how I find that I'm making my contribution to society because I'm changing like the way that people are viewing themselves and they view information. Because a lot of people don't even know what that word means, and it's so sad that people don't even know what that means. Like affeto or efeto means effect, or the effect music has on the audience. And if you didn't know what that meant,
Okay.
it'd
So,
be hard.
and this is perfect. This is a perfect segue. This is what we speak on. I'm going to go back to the black chair.
Right.
When we look at black, it's an adjective.
Mhm.
Just like you just mentioned in terms of the word, particular meaning to that word. Every word has meaning.
Right.
So when we look at all the words out there, I go to another word, the word nice. You look at the etymology of that word nice means that you're stupid.
It really means foolish, yeah.
Right? So when we look at meanings, when we look at words, there is a spirit with that word.
Absolutely.
When it's being used, you don't know that real meaning, it's being laid on you.
Right.
So I go back to the word black people.
Mhm.
Dead people. Dead people walking. Dead people marching.
And a person means a monster. That's really what a person is.
All right.
Or people.
So
yeah.
there you go. So in terms of how these words are being used and how they're being placed on us, if those words are a negative of a negative connotation, or sorry, being placed on you, whose fault is that? If you don't know it.
Because we should.
That's a rhetorical question, but thank you.
No, but that's the whole point. So Farrakhan, whatever he says to us, whatever he does,
And not just him. Don't think we're just beating him up.
Yeah.
We're talking about anybody across the
Those are
board
the
who
questions
doesn't
we're getting.
classify their
Yeah.
people as nationals.
He's using those words.
It's an abstract right there.
Yeah, he's saying it. He's like, us black people, we need to get together.
We need a picture.
No,
I hear you.
listen to what I'm
I hear
saying.
you.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you subscribe to saying, okay, yes, us black people, when he's saying it, all right, you just called yourself dead.
Because there's also something called
What does that
acquiescence or default. Where if somebody says something,
That's it. That's all it is.
if he comes out and he says, yeah, the black people or whatever, and then everybody's like, yeah, they go with it. He just sold all those people out, and they were down with the sellout
Yeah.
because they didn't say, hold on a second,
Yeah, wait.
I looked at myself and I'm
Yeah.
not black. You can't use that. Use some
Exactly.
different term.
It's like they're playing tags with the word black. Like,
Yeah.
they're like,
Exactly.
tag, you're black.
Yeah.
Just that,
You know what I'm saying? So don't take it, like as I said, we always go to words, and you just mentioned your company, that it has a meaning. You've placed a meaning on that company. If I come in now and say, well, no, it doesn't mean that, you're like, no, sorry, my company means this, that's it, period. Don't screw with this. Because you don't want my negative to come onto your company. You want it to be a positive company. So there's negative and positive. I put the negative, no, sorry, no, it's not that. This is how it is. So someone comes to you and says, yo, black man, come here. You answer, I put my negative on you, You accept it, it's yours now.
Like Cassius Clay. Like
Feel what I'm
Cassius
saying?
Clay, when he was supposed
Cat,
to go to-
exactly.
Cassius Clay.
Exactly.
He corrected himself to Muhammad Ali, and he could not send him to war.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Why is that?
Why? Why? Ask why.
Because it's nationalism.
Exactly.
Bottom line.
Okay.
So,
And
See,
the Nation of Islam was
what
not
they
having
would get
Cassius
you,
Clay go to prison.
and you have to go.
Or Muhammad Ali go to prison.
And to be
Nothing
clear,
to do.
Ali
Not
had
happening.
nothing to do with the Nation of Islam.
No.
No,
That has to do with
Nothing.
us.
exactly.
Nothing.
You see what I'm saying? Ali has nothing to do with the Nation
Was
of
not
Islam.
going to let him go to prison. No way.
I
Muhammad
didn't
Ali.
play across though, but the sister was saying something. What were you saying about
Go ahead. Sorry.
about Muammar Gaddafi? About something that's gonna destroy the U.S. or something.
Yeah, he was making actual money. He was gonna take the
Yeah.
money back. He was making something called the African dinar, which was actually backed by 4,400 tons of gold that they
Silver.
took.
Yeah.
And once he did that, because he was making an African central bank, he was already set up banks in other parts
Not like
of
the Federal
Africa.
Reserve.
No, nothing like the Federal Reserve. Because this stuff is actually backed, and it was for the people.
But
Because
what-
the oil, he turned the oil back over
Yes,
to the people,
exactly.
and
Yes.
that was a big problem with
And
America.
what was gonna
And he
collapse?
wasn't going to accept paper money for his oil anymore.
Had to be
They would
gold.
have to have the gold.
And
So they
the
had to
US
take it
That would
out.
collapse the system.
The U.S. doesn't have gold.
And he was gonna unite the whole of Africa. So he was even cussing. He cussed Obama. He even cussed for what they did with Saddam. They said, yes, we all had our problems with them, but you guys had no right to stand there as nationals and allow these people to come in the country and do that to the man. Because, like, you know what I mean? So
But-
they, and that's the biggest problem. He also gave Farrakhan $4 million, which nobody knows what
No one
happened
knows
to.
what happened with that money.
Because he gave it to him in gold, like it wasn't fiat that he gave him.
Yeah,
And it was to start up, quote unquote, black hair product business.
But I'm a phantom.
So you're saying that if he actually started that bank,
It would have collapsed the whole entire everything, Canada's money, because it would have been worth nothing. Because they would have had to pay like almost $1,000 for a barrel of oil. It would have been for the amount that African dinar would have been worth.
And even then, they wouldn't accept it. So that what I'll do is
And they wouldn't accept, yeah, they wouldn't accept
force them in,
it.
force the
them
economy
into
into submission. 'Cause
It would
they
just
can't pay.
collapse, yeah.
They would have to
They wouldn't
admit
have to pay
now
nothing.
that
It's all a sham.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's what it comes down to, nationalizing.
And that's
Once-
what
once
the thing
you
with
become-
Farrakhan and
Once
then,
you become national, right? Now all the resources are national. Now all the roadways are national. Everything
Back to
becomes
the people.
national once the people realize their national position.
and that's
Same
why
thing
it's
happened.
like-
Same thing happened with Chavez. Nationalized the whole country. Same thing happened in Cuba. Nationalized the whole country.
Can't touch it.
Hugo Chavez, they try to say he
Right.
died of cancer.
And then
Like,
they give the perception to the people with their propaganda media or whatever that, oh yeah, you know, he's a dictator against those people, and then the people are suffering, and then they show the people, but yo, brother just came back from there, and they, you know, that's tourist freaking place.
Yeah.
They're making their what they make.
in Syria,
Hmm?
right?
Yeah.
They had university was free.
Yeah.
Everything in Libya was, yeah, all, yeah, Libya, everything,
Libya.
they had the
Like,
highest.
universities were
infant-
free.
Yeah, everything,
Healthcare was free.
everything,
They
even
don't have that here.
single
They're supposed to be
mothers.
terrorists and they're supposed to be the bad guys.
And
Medical
nobody
care.
in Libya had to pay for a home. He'd put you in a home, or he'd put you in an apartment. If you wanted to farm, he'd give you the
If
land
you were
and buy
firstly
you the
married,
equipment.
yeah,
And
if you were
wanted to
firstly
take a-
married,
If
50
you wanted to
grand.
take, if you wanted to take a course in Libya, but it wasn't offered in Libya,
He'd pay
the
for it
government
to
would
go
pay
abroad.
you to go wherever that education was offered.
They had the highest living standard according to the UN in the whole entire world.
So you
Like,
went with-
But
they
it's
only
different.
had, their babies didn't die down there. They had the highest infant mortality rate.
so what I
And
thought.
over here, you can't even.
Yeah, let him answer the
You
question.
can't bankrupt your loan.
Yeah,
Student loan, you can't even.
yeah.
Depends on what rules.
Let me finish, man.
No, yeah, go ahead. You ask the question.
So what happened to all of Gaddafi's friends? Like all the people that actually like, believed in him and seen what was gonna happen or whatever. Like,
Well, didn't have them on board yet because you have to remember, certain things in the system cannot happen without our compliance. Just like he's been teaching us, like we comply to being black, so we're going to be treated as such. So he was trying to get those guys on board because Africa's being raped and looted because the leaders are allowing it to be raped and looted now. Like you can't cry over the white man anymore. That story's been done and over with. So he was trying to convince them, and they weren't They were like pad their tails between their
Hard-headed,
legs.
sticky.
Mugabe started with him. Mugabe was online, but look what Mugabe. People hate the man. Like they're like, oh, they're still gonna kill him, whatever. And he's killing white farmers, like European farmers. He gives them 1 week to get off the land. They don't want to move. They're dead. They're 29. Every 29 seconds, apparently one is dying.
Yeah.
He's not playing. Like then it's because our compliance.
What's your question again?
So wouldn't that be a conflict of interest for like all the other nations?
Yeah,
And that's like
big time.
something that being-
Because they're tied with the. With
So you had no friends then?
No.
the same way that Noble Drew Ali had no friends.
Yes.
When he started telling people about nationality or whatever like that, and then he realized that everybody around him
Yep.
pretty much sold out.
And to come back to what I just told you,
Because you're all
whenever you
agents.
start, there's gonna be problems.
Because everybody works for
There's gonna be
for
problems.
the colonizer
They're
to
looking
keep
for
our
global
people
economies, man.
in. Once our people have dumb state of mind, then
You're okay.
it's pretty
In their
it's
side.
pretty much over.
Because they're pretty much all paid off, so they're getting their money in, so why are they gonna jeopardize
And
it?
They're not gonna jeopardize their own
dollar.
So that's why
Right.
they make up their own shit.
So you're saying that everybody right now is ganging up on Africa, everybody's raping it.
It's just a
They're
threat.
gonna rape it.
Even our
It's
people
not
are
even-
Oh,
It's not nothing new.
So how do we save it?
You buying a cell phone is raping Africa because all of those minerals
exactly.
come out of. You cannot have a TV, you cannot have a laptop, you can't have anything.
So how do we save it?
Yes,
And
national.
it starts with self.
National.
It starts with self.
Okay, what I'm getting, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to use this analogy as well.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, a lot of Canadian companies were going out of business, left and right. Heard my parents complain, oh man, they shut down this company again, rah, rah, rah. Oh, but I need to go buy that shirt, cost $1.50. Where was it made? It was made in China. But the Canadian company who was making those shirts, they're going out of business. But I need that shirt. So Walmart comes in. Walmart has everything from around the world. It's very cheap. So instead of the people making and go and get their own stuff, they go into Walmart. It's cheaper. Use the example where I was this week. I bought the stuff where the people made it. I did not go by where they imported it. And the guy told me, please, when we finish this guide, please buy from the people that made the stuff here.
Right.
Don't go buy from the people outside because those stuff are made outside of here.
It's like when there was
Yeah.
How does that correlate to what I was saying?
It correlates like this.
Uh-huh.
If our people amongst each other, well, like you said, you have a company, right, bro?
Yes, sir.
Right? Who else has a company in here? As nationals, we correlate with each other. We speak to each other. We barter with each other. We won't need the outside world. Period. That's exactly what you're asking. How? Like, what do I do now? In terms of nationality. You deal with nationals.
Question, but in
That's it.
Egypt, but in Egypt,
It goes deep. Sorry, it goes deeper than that. I'm not sideswiping the question or anything. It goes deeper than that. But as people, if we speak with each other, amongst each other, do what we need to do with each other. Don't go outside of that. Don't go outside of that circle. Go to Chinatown right now. Don't buy anything outside. Fruits are there, shirts are there, shoes are there.
But then what's our people's mentality is, you know, China man, because he doesn't look like whatever,
No.
he's our enemy or
No.
whatever. No,
No.
that's Asiatic.
Go over by Bathurst and Lawrence.
He's a Chinese is an African.
Right?
But who thinks like that? Who says I'm not gonna buy from a Chinese because they're Chinese?
No. But
No,
listen
I'm
to
saying
what I'm saying.
our people's
Yeah,
our
that's what I'm
people's
saying. Yeah.
mentality
Yes.
Yeah.
is anybody who doesn't look like us is our enemy.
Well, that's the RPGs.
Don't support.
Mhm.
Don't go to the you know, and this is Asians who I talk to. Don't
Right.
go to the Hindu.
Yeah.
Because you know they have straight hair. They're supposed to have nappy hair like us. If they don't have if they have straight hair, then that means they have European in them or whatever.
No,
That's foolish talk. They're nationals. If we shop with nationals, right, then we would be able to get certain things that you know we need to survive or whatever. We don't have to go to European companies. We don't have to. They could be bankrupt tomorrow if we just shop with other nationals.
Absolutely.
So
But if we're not a national, don't think that those nationals are going to deal with us.
of course.
Their job is to sell us 40s, blunts, or whatever like that if we're not national, and that's it.
Right.
Don't think about going to them for no big purchases or nothing like that. So they're going to sell you some bootleg stuff that doesn't work in two days. because they already know. They've been taught and trained that if you come to this land called U.S. or Canada from somewhere else, people who consider themselves black don't even deal with those people, just take their money.
Tell them that.
They tell them that before they come here.
So wouldn't it be better if we had black businesses like our own like Chinatown, but like a national town or whatever you want to call it,
Right.
and circulate like our money within our community?
Most
That's
definitely.
what they
talking
did in
about.
Oklahoma, man.
Yeah, but he was saying that certain people don't want to. Certain people are looking at the Asian person as a certain type of way that they want to buy from them or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
As far as our people, who are classified as Negro, black, colored, African, conscious community people,
Right.
they're going to say certain people are the enemy. That's not really the enemy. They're looking at this person has international relations with European companies, corporations, people. So they're the enemy too. Well, it's not really like that. Majority of people are compromised just like us as far as dealing with the European. You know what I mean? Everybody's compromised for dealing with the European. You know what I mean? And we can't we can't put that negative on them.
Those people are looking at us in that way, where they want to sell us blunts and 40s. Why should we even spend our money in their businesses?
But that's what we're speaking on.
You're not
Okay.
listening to well everything.
That's what we're speaking on. Who gets sold blunts and 40s?
Not nationals.
Right? Go to any, like, grow up in New York or wherever, there's a church on this side and there's a liquor store on this side.
This morning we're
In the same location, like, praise God this morning, and then you go
Man, they got
buy
alcohol in the church.
Okay, so
we don't ever get
so
that far yet.
what so that's what's in the block. It's no our people's businesses in there. It's not. It's, as I said, there's a church here, there's a liquor store here. Right across from each other. You'll find out on each block. Why is that?
And this is not just here in Canada.
Right?
In Jamaica, the same thing.
Why is that?
Same thing.
Right, you have
This morning
people
before I come here, we were talking the same thing.
Yeah.
right.
Control
So
through chaos, that's
even
all.
if you look at that,
Well,
even if you look at the majority of the Caribbean islands,
Yeah.
right? Majority of the Caribbean islands paid off or got their debt paid off by the IMF.
Okay.
So now IMF owns them. IMF owns them to the point where there are certain Caribbean countries where the stuff that they grow there,
It's not-
they import
Yeah.
from Cuba or whatever.
Right now in Jamaica, it's happening.
Because they can't sell their own stuff, because that's part of the deal that they got
Yeah.
because IMF paid off their debt.
okay.
So there's so you know, like the brother said, it's catch-22. You can't really shop with your own, because your own can't really sell to you like that, because they're gonna get whatever in trouble for selling the stuff, right? So you know it's
How did they get into that type of debt?
Yeah, that's by
They're
borrowing.
not borrowing.
by borrowing.
The other people.
Okay.
Yeah, by borrowing from
From the island.
people who they shouldn't be borrowing from, when they should be dealing, just like what we're saying. How about we just deal around each other? Well, now we can't do that because that guy, he's in, you know, whatever place, and that guy's in St. Anne's, and we're over here, and they're that political party, and we're this political party, and we can't really go over in that area or whatever like that, so let's go somewhere else to get the stuff.
And
When,
we're under the perception where we think that the money actually has value, like those notes
right,
actually have some sort of value.
when the real value is the people,
Yeah.
the real value is the resources,
Yeah.
it's not even about the money.
Mhm.
The fiat currency or whatever. It's really about how we engage. Are we engaging each other on principles of
Money
love or
actually
whatever?
represents debt, which
Know what
is
I mean?
messed up.
Right?
The amount of money you have on you is actually how much debt you actually have.
Yeah,
So, which is messed up.
because it's not real money, right? So we're you know because we got one question too that we wanted to address. As far as this process of nationalization,
And we depend on the currency.
right? The process of nationalization is a mindset. The process, as soon as you start thinking that nationalization is cards and which paper do I get and I need to get, as soon as you go there, as far as national, you already defeat yourself. Because papers, cards are not going to work unless you have it here first.
So how do you become a national, or like, what's the process?
Mindset first. Studying, getting the right information. That's why we got
No, what these
DVDs
words
and books.
mean. They're word magic.
So that people can get their mindset correct, get the right information in, clear all the crap out, get all the right information in, and once you have the right information in, then you can start talking about, now what's the process.
Just have two quick questions.
Yeah.
When we were talking about bartering among each other, first of all, didn't we have that? Where did we fall when it comes to Black Wall Street? You know what I mean? Where we had that, and also second question, second question is I'm reading Stolen Legacy, and they talked about strict immigration laws that the Egyptians had against outsiders. So it shows that even when we are among ourselves, these invaders that come with their advanced technology, or is it advanced, I don't know, but they have means of, you know what I mean, like coming at us.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to use those two examples.
Well,
when we had
let's
solidarity.
put them hand in hand.
Yeah.
The so-called invaders bombed Wall Street,
Yes.
right? They did that under the guise of, these people have too much power.
Mhm.
Who were those people in Black Wall Street? They weren't black.
We're sovereign people.
So who classified that as that? Because they weren't black people.
What's it called? Black Wall?
Everybody who was in so-called Black Wall Street were Aboriginal and Indigenous people out of the Trail of Tears.
Out of what?
Trail of Tears.
Trail of Tears?
When they were kicking so-called Aboriginal people out of all those southern states, and they picked up on their own and said, okay, since this was going on, we're going to go over here and we're going to build a new state.
Okay.
And in that new state, they had libraries, hospitals, doctors, schools, whatever, all run by them. Transportation, whatever, all run by them. Right? What was the issue? Those people were classifying themselves as Indian.
But where does the term Black Wall Street come from? That came after?
I think there's
Nobody
the
even knows
conscious
where that.
community just
That's just
labeled it
conscious
as
people's
that,
crap.
to give it
Because
together.
they see people who look like them and they automatically
and nobody knows it.
sell them out.
They don't teach it.
You know what it
in
was
school.
called? Like what they called it?
It was just like
It's probably
Oh,
just a community.
Oh, okay.
Just
Came after.
Asia,
Like the
Asiatic.
move had the name, the
Yeah.
1985 when the second bombing happened that no one talks about.
Uh,
They had a move. They were called the Move,
okay.
Right.
and then they were bombed out as well because they separated themselves from.
Right, and again,
Yeah.
what happened to them? Classifying themselves as something that they're not, which gave the European jurisdiction. Because if they're gonna say that, yeah, this is our community, but it's in, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you just gave them jurisdiction to come bomb you. Because that ain't Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's the Europeans said that's that.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not
You know what I
easy.
mean?
They're real tricky.
No. Well, as I said, stop using that word they. It's not they. It's our words. That's right. We just gotta. That's where we go back to. Which books do we need to study? As I said, if we want to find out if you're gonna say they, let's use their stuff. All right, that's their stuff. Let's use their stuff back on them. Right? Then we go to the dictionaries. We get as old a dictionary as possible. If you want one, come to me. I got one from 1700s.
I will be.
You know what I'm saying? So, words, we go back to the words. Then we're going to go and look at how contracts work. What is a contract? Contracts are verbal. You and I, we have a contract right now. We're speaking to each other. You don't have to speak to me. You have verbal, you have written. Implied, unimplied. You have adhesion contracts, is what we all have. A lot of us have driver's license, which is not yours, by the way. It belongs to the Ontario Drivers Company. So it's a matter of the words you use. It's a matter of where those words are coming from.
Right. True.
Black Wall Street, well, didn't exist. Because as soon as they burnt it down, within a week or two, it was built back up again. Does anybody know about that part? No. So.
Well, they had insurance, I bet.
Sorry?
I bet they did have insurance.
What
What was the insurance?
What was the insurance?
I wasn't there.
The insurance wasn't some policy like
Wasn't
what
a
we got
policy.
today.
Okay.
Insurance
Know what I
was, if I help you, you help me. So we need to build this place back up, let's build it back up.
Right.
Period. We'll go back to the semantics of how things happen. Once you start looking into particular documents, once you start looking into treaties, once you start looking into articles or constitutions, you will start to see where things started to go wrong, if anything went wrong, and what started to happen to us.
Yeah, the lack of knowledge.
That's what I'm saying?
And it's mainly for us. It's mainly us.
And I think one of the other main things that we can look at is how divided we are now. You walk down the street, a lot of us won't even look each other in the eye. A lot of us are,
Right.
you know, looking at each other, even though we're of the same bloodline, as if these are the people that we want to kill.
Right.
Right? So really, it sort of starts from within. Right? That's where the core of it is.
Any closing questions or remarks?
What kind of books would you recommend as far as like someone that's like a beginner trying to get into the right
Okay, well, let
mindset?
me,
So yeah, we got some packages here with that info that we'll give out. One of the things that you could do, there's a website, rvbaypublications.com. If you frequent that website, it'll start clearing up. You know what I mean? Just the cloudiness that we have. You know what I mean? Yeah, you could just write it down.
Not on here?
RV Bay Publications. I don't know if it's on there or not.
it's not on there, just write it on.
Yeah, rvbaypublications.com. As
It's on
well,
the email list?
Well, that,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that.
as well,
RB what?
RV Bay BEY Publications.com.
Do you check out real history as well? I've been checking that website out.
Yeah, well, yeah, once in a while.
Once in a while.
But you know, it's a thing that, you know, my position is I try to gravitate to nationals.
Okay, true.
Like if they're not nationals teaching, I ain't even trying to hear them because they're gonna give me some distorted
True.
perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For reference points of something, you know,
Yeah.
you might check whatever website, and you know you can get some key terms or phrases or dates or whatever off, and then
Gotta
take it
filter,
off
right.
of that and then go research. But to take a non-national's perspective of something historical, you're gonna get lost. But they're gonna be talking about black people, Negro people, African people, all these different people, when that's not really how the story or the historical lesson should be displayed. You know what I mean? So we try to tell people stick to that site because we know the people who run that site. First of all, we know that they're nationals. We know that their perspective is based on exercising, not just I read a book and you know I'm gonna put this on a website. You know what I mean? It's from doing research, going places, you know what I mean, and making sure that you know the people are getting information that is inspiring them to do more research. Like taking what we say and then adding on to what we say. If we say something wrong, you research, find out we're wrong, you send an email or whatever, correct us on what we said wrong so we can
I watched a
make it better.
documentary on the Washington Wars. Have you? Because I know you went to Louisiana. Have you ever been to Poverty Point?
I was supposed to go there, but I didn't get the chance
Oh, okay.
chance to
I
go.
wanna
But
check that out.
yeah, it's real though.
Yeah.
That spot does exist, yo.
Well, you
it's
want to
real.
know what Poverty Point is, but that's where
I'll ask
the
you.
Washington
Yeah.
Moors. That's where they.
Yeah. That's said to be one of their
Strong-
bases. Yeah,
strong.
one of their strongholds.
Okay.
Poverty Point, Louisiana. And of course, you know, we got books here, we got DVDs here, and then also too the people here. You know what I mean? Get numbers from people so that you know you can connect with them on a one-way, because we got a lot of information to go through.
And to add to that too, when what you're learning here, quote unquote, your black friend out on the street, you don't understand. It's gonna be hard to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
So you gotta talk to. No disrespect, don't get me wrong, but it's like you used to talk English, now you're gonna speak French. You gotta find a Frenchman to talk to. You find a Frenchman to help you talk that language.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So but you gotta study.
So,
though.
so you guys keep this function every Sunday?
Every Sunday we're here, 1 o'clock.
From 12 to 3?
Yeah, 1
1 to 3?
Yeah, 1 to 3.
So
Yeah.
make sure you give me your email address. I can put you on email list. So
Yeah, and then 'cause we have other stuff going on sometimes, you know what I mean?
So in your opinion, why is it important to be sovereign?
Well,
I heard you touch on that. Like, I feel that's a very sensitive issue for you. Not really sensitive.
more-
but
it's more-
Yeah. Sovereign.
it's more important to be national.
national and sovereign.
Because from sovereignty, from nationality comes your sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
Can't have one without, can't have sovereignty without
Yeah,
nationality.
nationality.
From nationality comes your sovereignty.
nationality is very
All those
important.
people you see out there running around free men on the land, fraud.
What is that, free man on the land?
Yeah, free men on the land, guys, it's a fraud.
Yeah, sovereign. As soon as people say sovereign without saying nationality or national, you know that they're playing.
See, as I said, this is where the studying comes in, because in terms of sovereignty, what is sovereignty?
You gotta know that.
You gotta know that, because sovereignty means many things. It can mean in terms of sovereign land, sovereign people, but to have that title, you have to have something more higher than that, and that's in terms of the class. That's your nationality. That's what I said. Wordplay, gotta be careful. You gotta be careful.
So sovereignty is good.
It's good.
Sovereignty is good. Nothing's wrong with sovereignty, but where is it derived from?
Good meeting you.
If sovereignty is derived from somebody just said something, oh yeah, we're sovereign, then, all right, yo, peace and love, God. I hope to see you again.
You wanna write
Right.
on the email address on the paper?
You know what I mean?
But that's where it begins. As I said, it begins with the study. That's why with myself, I always look at words. No matter what the word is, look at that word.
And you said this book was published in the 1870s?
Sorry?
You said this was published in the 1870s?
Well, the first one was published in when was the first one? 18. Well, this one is 1930 or 54, something like that. Check it out.
Yeah, this is fourth.
This is the 4th edition. You're gonna get them. You need to get the 3rd and 4th first, and then as you start learning, you get the 5th and the 6th, because there's different words and different eras and different times. But you need to get those ones first.
The copyright of this started in 1891. The last
1890, yeah, 1891. It's
1951. So fourth edition started in 1891
Mhm.
up to 1951. They stopped producing the fourth edition.
You guys sell books as well?
Yeah, well, don't
We can
sell.
recommend
I
where you
could,
get
I
them.
could find, I have one of these ones right now. That's for donation. But if you want a dictionary, it's on the wall right here.
I'm not gonna take it right now, I'm gonna take it next Sunday.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're here.
So
They're
there you
here.
go. Take it.
It's gonna be here.
Like,
If you wanna take it now and then,
Take it
next
now.
week, feel free.
It's up to
You know,
you.
So
Take it.
that way you can at least
Take the book.
familiarize yourself.
Next week.
Yeah, familiarize yourself.
I'll take it next week.
No, I'm saying if you want to take the book, go ahead. Like the dictionaries,
Yeah.
we have some to take.
Oh
Right?
yeah, another thing I want to see is you can download the 4th edition online. It's on PDF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want the hard copy.
You want the hard
We
copy.
wanna have the hard copy.
If you
If you
download
are-
it, you never get to it. I do that with books all the time. I hate e-books because I never read
Yeah.
them. Because I have to print it out and then read it, because I've actually printed out the whole entire RV-based site.
If anything ever happens to that advice,
In a binder.
You saved it to Google Chrome?
Yeah, I think so. But even on my phone, I have them. But I don't, because Black Hawk Dictionary, I downloaded it too, but I don't use it. Because you want like the hard copy. To look at.
Any closing questions or comments?
It's just a waste of ink.
No, well, if you
Yeah, go ahead.
printed it today.
Oh, okay.
But like if you just read it, you're not
You
going
say?
to use it.
Yeah, I just want to add that, we're talking about nationality and everything, and I mean, you could even say something on there as well, that being a national as a Moor, or Moorish American, that we're on the books, like we have, right, we are in the books, like on the law, that,
That's by the UN.
yeah, no, by the U.S. and Canadian government, the corporation, whatever. We are in the law, so it's not like we're just saying it to say it. They recognize the Moorish.
Yeah, they know what it is.
They know what it is.
So it's not
They're
like,
very familiar
yeah,
with
because Moors was the last name that we were called as national. Like we've been called a lot of names through history, hundreds of thousands of years or
But whenever they speak about the quote unquote black, they talk about Moorish descent.
so basically that's the last name that the last title that we have.
Right.
So it's nothing against if you're one of the Jews or Hebrew
Yeah.
but they're not on the books.
Yeah.
Right, so that's important to recognize.
Yeah. Right, so once again, rvbaypublications.com. Familiarize yourself with that website. And we're here every Sunday doing what we do. So we want to welcome all the new people as well for coming in today. And we will that. It's a start. It's a start to a journey. Yeah, I dealt with it kind of. It's hard to how do you do the process?
Oh, okay.
It's a mind frame before anything else. It's a mind frame, right?
I guess just one of the things too that you could just know that anything that you see that's out there in the public, that's out there in a sort of wide, on a wide level, that is sort of for our sort of people, question it. Because you've got to understand that if the so-called colonizer is backing that, then there's some motivation behind that that probably doesn't really speak to what is really true.
Right.
I.e. the Million Man March, all of those sort of things. Anything that they're pushing on the public, you got a question.
Yeah. Alright. So we'll just close out with the prayer.
Oh, okay. Alright. You gone? Yeah. Alright.
Esteem.
Alright.
Respect that.
Coming through.
Always bring brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice meeting you. Alright, no. Brother, alright, no. Respect for the knowledge, you know what I'm saying? Alright. Buy your ones, alright? Okay.
Alright, boss.
I don't know. Bless that.
One on the left, two on the right.
Alright.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. To His holy prophet. Noble Jew Ali. Islam. So we'll be back next week. 1 o'clock.
Yes, brother.
Yeah.